Hey everybody, Chief here, back with another video from Okayest MTG. I know it's been a little while and I'm excited to talk to you about an interesting archetype that I've been building around here lately. Today we're talking about life gain, specifically in mono white. And I've had a bit of a journey on my attempt to make a solid life gain commander deck. So let's get right into it. I think that this is going to be an interesting study of how life gain has worked in Commander. So we've got a few commanders to talk about today. So just to kind of start off, I originally started my journey looking at life gain as a potential way to build a fun deck around the synergy. I didn't just want to gain a bunch of life just to say I can gain a bunch of life and take a long time to kill. I think it's important to note that in the early days of the Commander format, life gain was pretty good. And then for a while it started being looked at as kind of not good. And then as of recently, Commander influencers like Josh Lee Kwai and Jimmy Wong of the Command Zone have stated that life gain, even just incremental, incidental life gain, can actually be pretty good in Commander. So with all that said, I'm going to point out how my attempt at life gain started. So I first started with Linden, the Steadfast Queen. And she, for 3 white, was a Vigilance 3/3 who said whenever a white creature you control attacks, you gain 1 life. And this was really good if you're going to build around the mono white, white weenies as it's known, just a lot of small creatures just attacking often and gaining a bunch of life, and then using that life gain for value. But as I built my deck, I noticed it was more built around just life gain as a resource. So honestly, I wasn't doing that much combat. And while Linden is good, I ended up deciding to try something else. So then I found one card in the deck that I thought was actually even more interesting, Darien, King of Keldor. So he's a legendary creature, and this is an older card. He says whenever you're dealt damage, you may create that many 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. And he's really interesting because he almost creates an environment where your opponents don't want to attack you because you get value from it. And if you have life gain generators on the battlefield, whenever you're dealt damage, you make soldiers and you just get that life right back. But the problem with Darien is he's 6 mana and honestly kind of too slow to get out. So I decided to try a newer commander from Edge of Eternity's, Halia, Guided by Light. So also a 3/3 for 2 and a white, so much cheaper. When she or another creature or artifact enters, you gain a life. I think that's pretty interesting that also at your end step you draw a card if you gain 3 or more life this turn. The warp doesn't really matter from the Command Zone. But anyway, I just thought she was a solid value piece for a mono white life gain strategy in the Command Zone. The interesting thing to me about life gain as an archetype is it's more about inevitability because it's not going to win fast. It basically requires your opponents to kind of just look over and see that you're doing nothing but gaining life while you're also building this snowballing value machine that turns every point of life into momentum, card advantage, and hopefully an overwhelming board presence. So I added several creatures to kind of help meet this goal, and let's get right into those. So first up, Adeline Resplendent Cathar. Thought she was a great way to just make more token creatures, get more value from attacking. Every time those creatures enter, you gain life, and Adeline herself is just a pretty massive threat once she's on the battlefield. Next up, we got Benny Brack, Zoologist. If I make tokens, I draw cards, and he can be convoked out. So the deck's kind of a combination of gaining life, but also making a bunch of token creatures to gain more life, and we'll talk about win cons in a little bit. Next up, Exemplar of Light. I think this guy is really slept on. When you gain life, he gets 1/1 counter. And whenever you put one or more 1/1 counters on him, you draw a card. Triggers only once each turn, but card advantage, get a massive flying body. He's phenomenal. Veladar Sovereign. This is probably one of the classic life game win conditions. Beginning of your upkeep, if you have 40 or more life, you win the game. Now, this isn't going to be super quick because he still costs 6 mana to cast. And ideally, when you play him, your opponents are going to do everything in their power to remove this creature from the battlefield before it gets to your next upkeep. But it has actually happened, so I think he's still good to keep in the deck. Guardian of Faith. This guy is just strictly a great way to protect your entire board. Well, really just your creatures, but you can flash him in for 3 mana and phase out any number of target creatures you control. So I think phasing is probably the best form of board protection because it actually can get around Farewell. So yeah, that's why he's here. Guide of Souls. For 1 white, every time another creature you control enters, you gain a life and an energy. And then his ability to use 3 energy counters to put 2 1/1 counters on and a flying counter on a creature that you control that's attacking is pretty awesome. So this guy is just a powerhouse. For 1 mana, he's doing a lot, and it makes sense because he's from Modern Horizons 3. Very powerful. Heliod, Suncrown. This guy's also another classic win condition and a mono white life gain strategy. As long as your devotional white is less than 5, he's not a creature, but whenever you gain life, you put a 1/1 counter on a target creature or enchantment you control, and then you can pay 1 and a white to just give another target creature lifelink until end of turn. This can also be an interesting political tool, as you can give your opponent's creatures lifelink, but truthfully, this guy is just known for his infinite combo potential that I'll discuss here in a minute. So we also got Mondrak, Glory Dominus, just one of the best token doublers in the game, and it has the ability to be made indestructible. So Mondrak, phenomenal card. Nesting Dovehawk, I love this one. Being in combat on your turn, you populate. So you make a token copy of another token that you control, and whenever a creature token enters the battlefield under your control, you put a 1/1 counter on it, so it's going to become a big beefy flyer, and it's just going to keep generating value every combat for you. Nykthos Paragon, this one's great. Now it is 6 mana, but when you gain life, you may put that many 1/1 counters on each creature you control once each turn. So this can be a massive swing. If you have a large board of small creatures, gain life, and say you gain 4 life all at once, you get to put 4 1/1 counters on every creature you control. That's a huge tempo swing. Ocelot Pride. And again, this is 1 white mana. It's just a powerhouse. It has first strike and lifelink and ascend, so you get the City's Blessing, and then it's your end step. If you gain life this turn, you can make a 1/1 white cat creature token, but if you have the City's Blessing, for each token you control that entered the battlefield this turn, create a token that's a copy of it. So basically, you'll make your 2 cats and then another copy of every other token you made that turn. The guy's just a token machine, incredibly powerful, not a cheap card money-wise, but very cheap mana-wise, and a huge investment if you want to build a good token-based strategy. Splendid Angel. This one's a fun one. So at each end step, if you gained 5 or more life this turn, you make a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying and vigilance. And then for 3 generic and 3 white, until end of turn, it can get +2/+2 in lifelink. It's a flying 3/3. This is just a powerhouse and a life gain strategy. Rock's Faithmender. I like this guy because he's basically doubles all your life gain, which really can add up. And he's a 1/5 with lifelink, so he's got high toughness, great blocker, really good card. Soul's Attendant. Up there with Soul Warden and the other Soul Sisters. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may gain 1 life. And that's not just your battlefield, it's any battlefield. So this is going to generate life gain on everybody's turns. Yep, Soul Warden, same thing. And they're both just 1 white mana. Crested Sunmare, one of my favorites. For 3 and 2 white, you get a 5/5 horse that says other horses you control are indestructible. And at the beginning of each end step, if you gain life this turn, make a 5/5 white horse creature token. So that's each end step. all you have to do is gain 1 life. And then at each end step, you make another indestructible 5/5. That's pretty awesome. Love this card. Sunscorch Regent. Again, 5 mana. You get a 4/3 flyer, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, he gets a 1/1 counter, and you gain a life. So this is just more of that passive life gain that we're looking for. Voice of the Blessed. For 2 white, whenever you gain life, he gets a 1/1 counter. As long as he has 4 or more 1/1 counters, he's got Flying and Vigilance. If he has 10 or more 1/1 counters, it has Indestructible. So this guy can just become a big threat for only 2 mana. I love it. And finally, Walking Ballista. This is basically your infinite combo potential with Heliod Suncrowned. 2 of them bounce off each other, so if you gain life, Heliod can put a 1/1 counter on him, and then give him lifelink. And then every time you remove a counter to do a damage to a target, he'll get another counter because of the lifelink. And rinse and repeat. That's an infinite combo. You take out the table. So yeah, there's definitely some ways to win in this deck. So let's talk some more about some of the spells I have in the deck. So for some instants, we got Call of the Coppercoats. This is a great way to make a whole bunch of 1/1 creature tokens. It costs 3 mana, and you can choose 1 opponent, or you can pay another 1 in white for each other opponent beyond the first, and make 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens equal to the number of creatures those opponents control. And with token doublers, this can just be a huge amount of bodies you put onto the board. Exactly what we want to be doing. Congregate. Just for 3 and a white, target player gains 2 life for each creature on the battlefield. This can be a huge amount of life gain, and that's exactly what we want in this deck. Flare Fortitude. This card has been a powerhouse. Because you can cast it for free by sacrificing a non-token white creature, and then until end of turn, your life total can't change, and permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible. So, similar to a Teferi's protection type of spell, except nothing's phasing out, they're just hexproof and indestructible, but this is a great way to avoid an opponent's Alpha Strike, or them trying to board wipe, or get rid of your best pieces. Love this card. Grand Crescendo, another piece of board protection, but also can make a bunch of creature tokens for you. And what's great about it is you can only cast it for the 2 white pips if you want to just give your board indestructible until end of turn, or pay into X and make that many creature tokens. Secure the Waste. Pay as much as you want into X, and then pay 1 white and make that many white warrior creature tokens. Of course, Teferi's Protection. It's probably the best protection spell in the entire game. Your life total can't change. You gain protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out. It pretty much a way of saying, I'm just going to sit out until my next turn. And you can barely do anything to me. So yeah, it's good for a reason. Next up is Artifacts. So this is one of the classic life gain win scenarios with Aetherflux Reservoir. Once this hits the battlefield, everybody starts looking at your life total, and you could potentially just win the game from here if you have enough life, or at least take out 1 or 2 players. When you cast a spell, gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn, pay 50 life, deal 50 damage to a target creature or player. Yeah, this is the real deal win con in a life gain deck for sure. Book of Exalted Deeds. This is a fun one, and it also combos with a land, actually, that I'll talk about in a bit. But at your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, make a 3/3 white angel creature token with flying. And then for 3 white, you can exile the book, put an enlighten counter on a target angel. It gains, you can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. And what's interesting, if you combine this with the land I'll talk about later, it's very, very difficult to get rid of that angel. So we got Cosmos Elixir. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card if your life total is greater than your starting life total. Otherwise, you gain 2 life. So it's either life gain or card draw. It's definitely using that life as a resource. So it's great here. Idol of Oblivion. Make tokens, tap it, draw a card. Simple. It has that 8 mana ability to create a 10/10 Eldrazi. We're almost never going to worry about that, but it's nice if you have nothing else to do with it. Catcher's Monument. White creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Always good. And then whenever you cast a creature spell, make a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. So more bodies, more life gain. That's what we need. Pearl Medallion. For 2 generic mana, white spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So I think that the medallions are some of the best ramp because they decrease all of your single color spells. So in a mono deck, you need a medallion. Pristine Talisman. Tap it for colors and gain a life. So it's a little bit of ramp, but mainly it's a way for us to gain life anytime we need it. And that's really going to matter with a lot of our cards. And Well of Lost Dreams for 4 generic. Whenever you gain life, you may pay X where X is less than or equal to the amount of life you gained. If you do, draw X cards. So this is some of the most tangible demonstration of how when we gain life, we're getting resources off of it. So gain life, pay mana, draw that many cards. That's huge. Next up, we'll look at the enchantments I added to the deck. We got Anointed Procession. Just double your tokens. More life gain, more tokens, right in our game plan. Authority of the Consuls, 1 white. This is a big stacks piece, as in your creatures. Your opponent's control enter tapped. Whenever a creature an opponent controls enters, you gain life. So this is going to be more of that passive life gain generation on everybody's turns. Authority does a lot. Honestly, it carries. Cleric class, if you gain life, gain that much +1 instead, and then you can pay additional mana. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on a target creature you control. And finally, you can pay 4 and a white and basically reanimate a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield and gain a life equal to its toughness. Almost like a reverse reanimate. But yeah, Cleric class does a lot in the deck as well. Court of Grace for 2 and 2 white. It makes you become the Monarch. And at your upkeep, make a 1/1 white spirit with flying. If you're the Monarch, make a 4/4 angel with flying instead. Divine Visitation. So this is an interesting replacement effect. If you would make 1 or more creature tokens, make that many 4/4 white angels with flying and vigilance instead. So now every time we would make those little 1/1 bodies, instead we're making 4/4 angels with flying and vigilance. This can be a huge way to win the game as well. Griffinary. I love this card. For 1 and a white, beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, make a 2/2 white griffin with flying. Just another way to turn our life gain into actual value. Leyline of Hope. So you could potentially play this for free if it's in your opening hand. The ley lines are great for that. And if you would gain life, you gain that much +1 instead. And as long as you have 7 or more life than your starting life total, creatures you control get +2/+2. And Takacia's Welcome. Just a nice piece of card draw. Whenever you have a creature with mana value 3 or less enter, draw a card once each turn. So those are some of the best enchantments. As stated before, we had a few lands that kind of fall into our game plan, so let's look at those. First up is a Mary the Skyruin. Enters tap, but we don't care. Beginning of your upkeep. If you control 7 or more planes, you may return a target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's crazy, right? There's a restriction. You got to get to 7 or more planes, but it's pretty awesome just knowing. Even if I swing with my best creature, I can just return it at my next upkeep. Great land. And Mutavault. As stated earlier, this combos with the Book of Exalted Deeds. You turn the Mutavault into a 2/2 creature with all creature types, so it's an angel. You put that enlightened counter on it that says you can't lose the game, your opponents can't win the game. At the end of your turn, it just goes back to being a land, but it still has the counter on it. And therefore, they would have to remove the land or the counter to find a way for you to lose the game. So, pretty fun combo, honestly. And finally, Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. It's just probably the best land that you can put in a monocolored deck. And that's pretty much what I have for you all today. I hope that you have all enjoyed seeing how we can look at an old archetype. I mean, life gain has been around since basically alpha, the very start of the game itself. But that doesn't mean it isn't good anymore. And yeah, I'm having fun with it. It's a lot different than how I normally play because it's not doing that much combat. But I do think it was definitely worth building and seeing these different commanders that you can use for life gain, working through the problem and seeing, okay, I'm going to try something else. I'm going to try something else, and finally coming to a conclusion. I think this is where I'm at right now. Just a value piece that gains life and draws cards. And that's pretty much what I have for you all today. I hope you enjoyed this. And until next time, I hope you all have a great day.